Yeah, that's going to be fun. Forget it, I'll be on a f***ing roll if the Islanders don't make it. I'll be fuming. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Everyday Geek. I'm your host, Dave. Behind the camera, we have AJ. Today, Lauren's not here. She's actually out on assignment. So I have a special guest, Steven.
Hey, Dave.
How you doing, Steve?
Hey, AJ. How you doing?
Good. All right. Good. Well, today we're going to be talking about, as you could tell by the shirts and stuff we're wearing, it's going to be a baseball preview for the 2015 season. We're just going to give a little breakdown of what our thoughts are of each division. We're going to do a little American League, National League surprise, flop teams, do a little World Series predictions. And then maybe, I'm thinking maybe near the end of the season, we'll do another episode where we review the year and look back at our picks and stuff and see how well we did. Knowing me, it'll probably be nowhere close to what happens, but hey, that's the show. It's just our opinions. So we're going to do a preview now, and, you guys let us know what you think. So first, we're going to start with the National League West. That's pretty far out there. We're on the East Coast. So we'll start, and we'll work our way up. So National League West, let's talk about who do you think is going to come out of the West this year, between the teams? What are you thinking?
I'm still thinking San Fran, even though they lost a few key players. 3 championships in 5 years. They got a lot riding for them, and I still see them going pretty far.
Yeah, no, you're right. Now, it is 3 championships in 5 years, but this is one of their off years.
Yes.
It's been championship, nothing. Championship, nothing. Championship, let's see. Can't count them out because they are a championship team, but that's gonna be a tough one, man. If you pull that out, that's impressive because, I don't know, San Francisco I think is going to have their hands out, but it is a little weaker division. You got the Dodgers. That's who I picked. I think the Dodgers are going to take the division. I think they got rid of Hanley. Honestly, I think that's what they wanted to do. I think he had problems with some of the players on the team.
Poisoned the team.
Yeah, so I think they got rid of him. They got rid of Kemp, which I thought was a mistake.
Yeah.
I love Matt Kemp when he's on. He could be one of the best players in the major leagues. But they did free up now that outfield. Now they could put Puig, Ethier, and Crawford. They could have now them and have their backups, because they had Kemp and, they had a overcrowded outfield that I felt a lot of times got lost. Too many guys, too many cooks in the kitchen there. So I'm picking the Dodgers for the West. Steven's saying San Francisco. Now we'll move to the Central. What's your pick for the Central?
I still like St. Louis. I think they're a strong team. They're in it every year. They seem to pick the right guys at the right time.
No, you're right. And I'm going St. Louis also. Again, you can't count them out. They're constantly there. Constantly. Even when they lost Pujols, at the time was one of the best players ever, top first baseman. Everybody's like, oh, they're done. What'd they do? They went, didn't they go to the NLC championship again that year?
But they went to pitching.
Exactly.
They went from batting, which they still had strong points, but then they brought in a ton of pitching.
Yeah, and the only thing that could kill them is because Wainwright's injured now. They might lose their ace. That could hurt them, but again, it's a team. Who else is in the division? Brewers aren't any good.
No,
I don't think
they're
so.
Not going anywhere.
Cincinnati, Votto can't stay healthy. If they don't have a healthy Votto, if Cueto's not up to what Cueto was last year or could be, they're not going to have it. Pittsburgh,
they've been the surprise the last couple of years. They made the playoffs twice in a row.
Martin.
They did, which I love. I love Russell Martin.
Yeah.
But I don't think they can come back as strong as they have the last 2 years.
No.
They haven't done it for 30 years.
No, exactly.
And
the problem
proved
is,
it,
they got McCutchen. He's one of the he's a great athlete. As you could tell, I'm a Yankee fan, so is Steven. If I got McCutchen on my team, I take him now. Take whatever you want. Ransack the team. McCutchen is a great player, but they lost Martin. That's a great leadership on that team that they should have kept. I don't know why they let him go, but that's to Toronto's benefit. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Well, the Yankees. I think with the Yankees though, they had at the time they had
kids coming up.
Yeah, they had Austin Romine. They had Cervelli, who they just traded to Pittsburgh. They had these guys that they felt, I think, was going to be the next step, but then I guess that didn't pan out. They got McCann, who I thought was a good signing, but Pittsburgh losing Martin, that's going to be a big thing, and I don't think they're going to compete. And then who else? You got the Cubs. They're going to come up a little later too. We'll see, but I think St. Louis. I don't see the team that could beat them.
Yeah,
in the division.
Exactly.
So, we both say St. Louis for the Central. So now we'll go to the National League East. What were you thinking, National League East?
Washington Nationals.
That's it. I have Washington, too. You talk about pitching. They have a 5-man rotation where any one of those guys could be an ace on any other team.
Definitely.
That is a sick, starting rotation. Pick any 3 going into a short series.
Yeah, they could go 2-1, 3-0.
Do you think losing Adam LaRoche and they traded away Tyler Clippard.
Right.
That could hurt them, though.
They just have so much other strong points
Yeah.
that they can overcompensate. They're not very strong pitching, but with the batting and everything else coming into play, so a pitcher gives up 4 or 5 runs a game, their bats can come in and save the day. Back, I hate to say it, the old days of the Yankees. When, if you had Roger Clemens and he gave up 6 runs, the Yankees scored 7 or 8 and they still won the game.
The good old days.
The good old days.
Before Aroyd. But so basically, yeah. I mean, I think Washington. I mean, even if they lost one of those top pitchers, they're still 4 deep. Even if they lose Gonzalez, they still got the rest of them.
Right.
Zimmerman, and they got Strasburg. Even if Strasburg goes down, now, granted, you hope nothing happens to Scherzer. He's a lot of money, big bucks, but I think they're going to be a great team. I think the division is easy to take. I think the only competition I think they're really going to have in that division, and I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm not going to like saying this, but I think the only competition they will have are the New York Mets.
Ooh.
Now, I only say that because I think the New York Mets pitching, I mean, I know they just lost Wheeler, but it's basically like they're trading Wheeler for Harvey. My thought is, but they need Harvey to be Harvey. If Harvey comes back from Tommy John, he's not Harvey, they are in a lot of trouble.
No, they need him to be like an 18, 20-game winner.
Yeah, and this is the team that's been saying wait till 2014. Well, 2014 came and went. They lost Harvey, so everybody gave them the benefit of the doubt. If they can't get something done now, this year, I mean, the franchise is in trouble. And don't worry, I don't just go, oh, Yankees everything, but the Mets, I think that's the only one that could give them competition, but I think Washington's going to run away with it.
Yeah. I think the Mets have lost too much in the last few years with the whole debacle. But they're definitely looking for youth and trying to come up the ranks. Like, I feel like
they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
They're not trading away their youth. I mean, but they need right to be right. They need.
But he's getting up there.
He is. They need right to be right. They need Granderson to get on track
Yes.
to what Granderson could possibly be.
Right.
They need to have Duda repeat that year. Because if Duda doesn't repeat, I mean, they don't. And he had a 30 home run, season. They're gonna have Parnell back, so they have their closer. See how that goes. But the other thing I wonder with the Mets is this: they keep bringing the walls in. Now that's gonna help you, but it's gonna help your opponents as well. I don't understand why they didn't just leave the gates, the fences originally, and just build a team around the pitching they have.
Yep.
If David Wright can't hit home runs, well then David Wright can't hit home runs. But you know what? Maybe he can get in the gap and get a double. So the East was saying Washington. I think everybody's saying that. They're going to come up later, too, in one of our predictions of something else. Now we're going to do American League West. What are you thinking for the West?
I'm thinking Texas Rangers.
You're going Texas, even with Yu Darvish out?
Yeah, I still think they've got a chance. I think it's a pretty weak league.
Well, you know what I think, too? This might be a reason why you're doing this. They still have Prince Fielder.
Yes.
And Prince Fielder was injured last year. And that guy in that ballpark, with that heat, he could easily 40, 45 home runs.
But look at their number 1 and number 2 hitters. I forget their names, but they're stolen base guys. They got a lot of speed. They'll get on base.
Well, they got Andrus.
Yeah.
Elvis Andrus, and they got Jackson Profar. Right?
Yes.
Jackson Profar.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm all about speed and setting up for your 3rd and 4th hitters, and just let them try and get them in. And if you can't get your 1st and 2nd guys on base, it's hard to score.
No, I agree.
You can't rely on the ninth guy on the team.
Texas, yeah. I mean, they it's a weak division also because the Angels, I don't know, they're missing something. Oakland always seems to be in there, but I don't know. I didn't agree with the Donaldson trade that they made. And Billy Beane, I think he gets a little too carried away sometimes with himself. But so you're saying Texas. I'm going with, and this is killing me because they took one of my favorite players for the Yankees. I'm going with Seattle. I think Seattle, with the addition of Nelson Cruz, Ricky Weeks, and Austin Jackson.
Yes.
I mean, along with Cano, along with Seager, along with Ackley, then you got, Hernandez, and you got Iwakuma. That's how you say it. Iwakuma. I mean, and then if they get Taiwan Walker up to what he's supposed to be, this young kid.
Well, they could be.
I mean, that they could finally maybe make that run because it's a team that's been out of it for a while. They got Cano, which, like I said, as you know, we were huge Cano fan. I mean, Cano. And I have my own opinions about that. I felt like Cano. For years we had to hear about how he loved the Yankees and wanted to be the face of the Yankees. He had the chance to be. Now that Jeter's gone, but he went for more money, and that's fine. you don't begrudge him for that. You know, he's an athlete. You got to get the money where you can. But that's why I think Seattle's going to do the West, and you're thinking Texas.
I'm thinking Texas,
All right.
yeah.
Now let's move to the Central. What do you got for the Central?
Again, Kansas City Royals. I like the
Okay.
speed. I like the way they play as a team. There's not really a lot of big names, but they come together. They figure out how to score, how to win games.
They did lose Shields, though.
They did lose Shields, but they've got one of the best closers in the game, I think,
Well, the bullpen's
last
great.
year.
I mean, they didn't change the bullpen, so.
No.
But, you know, a lot of these bullpens, you got to hope that they repeat what they did last year.
Yes.
Because if the bullpen doesn't,
They still have the streak.
they're going to be in a little trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they don't have that, like you said, that even last year, they didn't have those superstars.
No.
It was, but it reminded me, probably you, it reminded you of the early Yankees, like the mid-'90s, you know, late '90s Yankees, where like it was not real superstars, it was just really good players on a really good team, managed by a good manager. And look what they did. They were, 90 feet away from tying it and possibly winning. So, okay, you're saying Kansas City. I'm going with the Chicago White Sox. They've added David Robertson, closer, who I was upset that the Yankees let go. They added Zach Duke for the starting rotation, Jeff Shamarja, along with Chris Sale. I mean, that's Shamarja and Sale. That's a great one, too. Then they added LaRoche for first base to take over for Konerko, and they added Melky Cabrera in the outfield.
Yes.
I mean,
wow.
You know, and they still got an okay bullpen. The bullpen's not bad. Start rotation has got better with Samardzija. And then you got Robertson closing out. I don't know. I think that's going to be a great team in that Central. I mean, Minnesota's nothing. Minnesota, you know,
the Twins.
What a shame.
They're still trying to put it together.
You know what killed them? Signing Joe Mauer to that contract. Everybody wanted it. They had to have it. They had to have him.
Yeah,
because
they tried.
For baseball in Minnesota, they needed to keep him, but that really, now you look at it, that's handcuffed them. Yeah. That contract and what he's played up to since then has handcuffed that franchise. Who else you got? You said Kansas City's going to win. I say Chicago. You got in the division also. We got Detroit. I don't think they're going to do it again.
I was kind of hoping they'd come through and they'd make some good acquisitions, but they didn't do it this year so far.
Yeah.
And
no, Detroit, I think losing Scherzer, you know, weakens that starting rotation that was so good for them, and not strengthen up their bullpen, which has been horrible for years. That's why they haven't gotten a World Series title yet or made more World Series. Is just, I think, you know, I mean, okay, they got Cabrera, great. You know, they got some good bats,
can't
but
take you through.
No.
You got to have a team.
No, if you don't have the pit, and the Verlander, they can't get back to Verlander, and now they lost Scherzer. They're gonna have a rough season up there in Motown.
Yeah, definitely.
So okay, so you're going Kansas City. I'm saying Chicago White Sox. Now we're getting to our division, the American League East. Go ahead. Who do you got, Steven?
Sorry, I got to pick the Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay.
Every year they try. They pick out great players. This year I'm hoping they actually put a good team together and they play well. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think they're going to be the surprise, one of the surprises of the year.
Yeah, no, Toronto, I have them. I think they're going to be a surprise too. The team I actually have, okay, and I want to get this out there. I think the American League East is the weakest division now at this point. If you look at the divisions, if you actually go on and really sit there and look at these divisions, American League East now is one of the weakest. I know everybody's saying Boston. I'm going to talk about Boston in a few minutes, and I don't hate Boston. I'm not a Boston hater.
I do.
Okay, well, there you go. But and I'm being serious. I think if everything, you know, if everybody stays healthy, if everybody plays to what their, you know, I know Ellsbury got hurt, but if everybody plays to what their back of their baseball card could say, and if in the hopes of A-Rod coming back and just showing that he wants to prove something to everybody, I'm going with the Yankees. Now, I'm not saying it for any reason. Then I just think you look at Baltimore, they didn't do anything to take that next step. They lost Cruz, they didn't replace with anything. I think Baltimore would have been the team. They made one or two good moves. They would have run away with that division because Tampa's out.
Right.
Tampa's going to be out again for a couple of years, and that's okay because that's what they do. They rebuild, and they'll be back there in a couple of years. Toronto's the only team I think that, and I have them as one of my surprise teams. We'll talk about that in a second. You got Boston. We'll go into that. I have them as one of my flops, and we'll go into that too. But I think that I don't think they added the pitching. Now, granted, Sabathia and Tanaka have to be Sabathia and Tanaka.
Right.
If Tanaka comes out and blows that shoulder out in the first pitch, Yankees aren't winning, and that's it. If, you know, Teixeira goes down and Ellsbury stays on the DL longer and Beltran's injured, they're done. They need everything perfect. They need everything to fall in line, and that's going to be tough. It's a long season.
Yeah, I mean, like Dave said, we're both Yankee fans, diehard fans. My biggest issue with the Yankees since the middle 90s is they seem to like to rent players, and they rent them as they're getting old and they're getting up there instead of picking the youth.
Well, that's the problem now. You see the team; it's an older team.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And it's going to be weird being a Yankee fan not seeing number 2 there. You know, in the shortstop position, it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest too. If the Yankees, and I'm saying they might win the East, but if they make it to the playoffs, they're going to lose the first round. I'll be honest with you there. They're not going to make it past the first round, I don't think.
Right now.
There's something missing, and that's it. So those are our picks for the divisions. Now I want to talk real quick is teams that we think are going to be surprises in both leagues. So let's go National League first. Who's your National League surprise team that you think is going to surprise everybody and either be in playoff contention or make the playoffs maybe with a wild card spot or something like that?
Okay. My pick, San Diego. I don't think a wild card spot maybe. But I think compared to what they did last year, they've brought in a lot of good players, a lot of good support, and I see them really moving up the ranks and giving a lot of teams a lot of problems. Yeah,
and what they've done too, a lot I've liked, is they added a lot of good pitching to a ballpark that fits pitching.
Yes.
So San Diego, they did make a lot of moves. That GM, he did a really good job.
Yeah,
smart moves, smart trades. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're fighting, come September for that second, maybe first wild card spot. That'd be cool.
Definitely.
I'm going with National League surprise. I'm going with the Chicago Cubs. I think Theo made a lot of really good additions. John Lester now acing out that staff. They got Chris Bryant, this phenom third base. I wish they wouldn't send him down. They're supposed to be sending him down for the first week and a half. I get it's only a week and a half, and they're doing it for the extra year, and I get it. I understand their side. I would do it too if I owned the team.
Right.
But it stinks that they have to do that because I just think that they're going to – I don't know if they're going to make a push for the wild card, but I think they're going to be a lot better than what they have been, and I think they're building to something, showing here we come. And I think in another year or two, I think they could be contending for the World Series.
They could, but I feel they still got a lot more to do. They're the team you love to want to go forward, want to progress.
Was it 108 years?
Yes.
Something like that. They haven't won. And come on, Chicago, I'm rooting for you. So remember to subscribe.
Yeah.
So, I'm going Cubs. That's my pick. We'll see. Let's go American League. American League surprise team. What's yours?
Okay. I like Cleveland.
It's
a small market team. Again, I'm all about the speed, the hitting, not necessarily the power. A team as a whole come together, and I think they've got a good base right now. A little young, but they're going to work with it.
And you know what the key is? One word. Francona. They have Terry Francona, and that guy. When he was on the ball, I loved him. I thought, even though he was there for 2004, and that still really irks us Yankee fans, but he is a really great manager. I mean, he gets the players on his side. He's good, and I think it's a good team, young team to look at. All right, so my American League surprise team is going to be Toronto. I know Steven picked it at his to win the East, and I think they do have a chance to win the East. Again, I'm just giving the Yankees a little benefit of the doubt because of Tanaka, because of the players they have. Because Toronto, I think they could just be a steal. I think their starting pitching is a little weak, but their hitting is great. Bullpen is a little stronger. They got Burley and Dickey. I mean, that's their 1-2, so...
Yeah, closers are always...
But again, it's the weakest time you've seen this division. This division is weak.
Yeah, this is one for anybody who just gets on a run.
Yeah, that's it. And if they get on a run, they could possibly steal a division or at least get into a playoff contention. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about flops, we think. We're going to start with National League flops, teams that we think that are being built up as being good and are just going to crash. So, Steve, we're going to go. What's your National League flop?
Los Angeles Dodgers.
So you're taking my West winner.
Yeah.
You're saying they're gonna be a flop. I can see it happening.
I can see it.
It was Kershaw their flop.
Yeah. Definitely.
So what's your thoughts? What are you thinking behind it?
I don't see the acquisitions and the way they've put this team together. I think they've sort of wasted the time that they had a really strong team and sort of let it go. And I just don't see them as a strong team.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. I see how that they could.
Players, but.
Yeah. No. I mean, they have Kershaw, the best starting pitcher, but if they lose him, they're in trouble.
Again, 1-2 players aren't enough.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hear what you're saying. I went with, and this is weird because I picked them to win the National League East. I went with Washington, and what I'm saying about flop for them is, if they were to lose, now they have we said a deep rotation, but if they happen to lose 2 of those guys, then they're going to be in trouble. If they, let's say, Strasburg and Scherzer goes down, Now they're weaker because I don't think they have a lot back up for that.
Okay.
So I think if they lose one, they can make up because they still have 4 deep. But if they lose 2 pitchers, I think they're going to flop and lose. I think they're going to, and if they lose Harper, if Harper doesn't become what they're hoping Harper to be, that elevate to that next level, he's got to stop making boneheaded. You saw what he did recently with he slowed up and tried to play possum in the outfield. Just get the ball in. Don't run the risk. Don't do that in a regular game. So I think they can flop only if the injury bug ravages that team. They're going to flop. But you know what? I mean, is it really a flop if you get a lot of injuries? I don't know. I mean,
it's just a bad season.
Yeah, maybe you should just be backed up a little bit more with depth. But I mean, they have 5 deep, but if they lose 2, I think they're going to be in trouble.
I also see Washington as one of those teams that always has a decent farm. And the guys might not be ready this year, but at least they can pull somebody in to grab a few games here and there if somebody does get injured. Like you said, you get a few of your key players injured. That's tough to come back on.
Yeah.
But I always think of Washington as having a good farm team.
That's true. All right, so now we're going to talk about our American League flop teams. So what are you thinking, American League?
American League flop, I'm thinking of the Yankees. I'm sorry, I'm a diehard fan.
Yeah.
I think this year's a rebuilding year. I'm not happy about A-Rod coming back. He's got something to prove, but I don't think he's going to prove it. And I think this year is just sort of going to be like an average year, which unfortunately in the AL East isn't going to be best.
No, like I said, you heard I picked them to win, but you hear how I'm very skeptical of what they're going to do. And I can see that happening real fast. Like I said, they get 2 or 3 injury. Again, is it an injury bug or is it bad luck, or is it just the team's not that good?
I'm sorry, age.
Well, yeah.
You need leadership, but not every player to be that leadership role.
Yeah.
And you get up there, and like you said, injuries. I mean,
and they're going to have injuries. It's coming.
162 games a season.
You need to shorten the season.
That's a lot. Yeah. And it's just tough for the older guys to come back and play this schedule.
Yeah. Well, I went with my flop for the American League being the Boston Red Sox. Now, please, Boston, if anybody from Boston's watching this or you're a Red Sox fan, don't hate on me. Just listen to me. I'm being honest. You heard how I'm very skeptical about the Yankees. Boston, I know that a lot of people are building up because of the moves they made. Add in Sandoval. Add in Hanley. Here's my problem. They didn't add pitching. They added Masterson, who they had years ago. He was a flop here. He went to Cleveland, had 1 good year, and then flopped there. He's back. They let Lester go, which was a huge mistake. They should have kept Lester. They shouldn't have never traded him, and if they did, they should have fought to get him back. They lost Lester. The pitching is really weak. I mean, they have to pray that Clay Buchholz can be what he was 2 or 3 years ago. And again, it was 2 or 3 years ago. They need Masterson to be what he was with Cleveland 2 or 3 years ago. They need Pablo Sandoval. If he goes 2 weeks, batting, 150, no home runs, a couple RBIs, he's going to get ripped apart at Fenway in Boston. They're going to rip him apart. Just like Yankees, just like New York fans.
Say that, yeah.
He's going to be ripped apart, and he's not going to be used to that.
No.
Because no matter how bad he was or bad times he had in San Francisco, they loved their Panda. He just stepped into a whole new world that we've seen it with Yankee players. They've seen it with Boston players. You need a certain player to come here. If you let things affect you, you're doomed. You're out. You're out. And I think that's going to be his big problem if he hits a skid where he's bad. The other thing I'm worried about is Hanley Ramirez playing the outfield. You're asking a guy who's played shortstop and third base most of his career to now take the outfield near the monster.
Yeah.
The Green Monster. He's got to learn how to play off that wall. It's going to be an adjustment. He might get it, but I don't think it's going to be in April. I'm sure he's going to make some mistakes, some errors, and that's going to be rough. Yeah, it's good to have his bat, but I'm sure he's going to make a lot of errors in the outfield. Yeah. So I think they could be a flop. They don't have the pitching. They lost. They traded Miller away last year. They didn't get him back. The Yankees got Miller, which I think was a good bullpen thing. But everything's weak. The hitting's good, but everything's weak. And what happens when that time comes when Ortiz is not Ortiz? They're doomed.
Again, Ortiz is getting up there. He's had his amazing years, but I just don't see him being that player. He might hit 30, he might get 100 RBIs, but to get 40 and 125, maybe a 300 average.
No. So now let's go with the World Series. What our predictions are. First, we're going to go with Steven. What are you thinking?
I'm liking Kansas City and Washington. Again, I'm back to Kansas City. I love the way they play the game. They come together. Washington's just a strong team.
That would be interesting to see them go back a second year in a row. Can they get it done this time?
And a team that hasn't been there in forever.
No.
Do it back to back.
But think about it this way. They get there last year. They faced Bumgarner. Bumgarner shut them down. He was basically why they won. Imagine they go back another year, they face that 5-man rotation.
But I mean, Kansas City last year was so close to winning it.
They were.
Game 7. I mean, this third base.
They needed to score in that 7th game early
Yes.
to keep Bumgarner out.
Yes.
Or play with the lead when that
Yeah.
didn't happen. And once he came out, he shut it down.
Yeah.
He was like the Terminator, man. He shut that down. My picks, I'm going actually with Washington also, but I'm going with Seattle for the American League. I just think Seattle, like I said earlier, I think they have the pitching, a stronger bullpen, the hitting's really good, the defense is really good. I think they've become an overall really good team, and I think this is the year where King Felix, I think he's going to take it to that next level. I think he's ready, and this is what he's been waiting for, and I think he's going to carry that team along with Cano for the offense, and I think they're gonna steal the division. I think they're gonna have a nice run through the playoffs. Now, so you're saying Washington, Kansas City. Who you picking to win it, and what's your prediction? How many games? What are you thinking?
Washington, I think it's 6.
Okay, all right, Washington 6. I'm gonna go if it's Seattle, Washington. I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna do Seattle in 7.
In 7. So
Seattle
full
in 7.
series. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to go Seattle 7 against Washington. Steven's going Washington in 6 against
Yes.
Kansas City. Okay. So really, that's our episode. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dave. Thank
You're
you
going
for
to see
inviting
Steven on some future episodes. I've known him for a while, but talking more today with AJ, we've found out that we're all just geeks. Real underneath, the more and more we talk. So he's going to be on future episodes, but I want to thank you for coming on. Let us know what you think. Leave your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Everyday Geek TV. And that's another episode. Adios.